Good afternoon, everybody, and good day to people who are not in India. Anubhuti, thank you so much for this invitation. Humankind is in the throes of a pandemic that has changed the world as we know it forever. Few diseases have impacted lives and livelihood in the way COVID 19 has. I'm a firm believer in what Andy Grove said: only the paranoid survive. However, I am here today to share with you that I have been impacted as well by what I believe is, in fact, the virus of hope. Hi, my name is Nitin Mantri, and I'm the president of the International Communications Consultancy Organization, ECO, and also the group CEO of AvianV. And I believe that the COVID 19 situation is as much a story of hope, resilience, and optimism as it has given us the opportunity to radically rethink our future: how we live, how we work, and how we treat others. Let me elaborate. A few months ago, my elderly aunt and uncle living alone tested positive for COVID 19. Lockdown restrictions prevented the rest of the family from visiting them. Everyone was concerned about how they would get by in isolation. How would they get their daily needs? How would they do what they do every day? I called them to try and figure out how to help. I was both surprised and relieved to learn that both my aunt and uncle had been on long video calls with their neighbors. Apparently, nearly everyone in their housing society had been checking on them every single day to find out how they were doing, if they needed any medicines, or even dropping off groceries outside their door whenever needed. I'm sure that you've heard of many similar stories or been part of them yourself. I'm a COVID 19 survivor too. I tested positive for COVID 19 a couple of months ago. And I'll be honest, I was worried, actually, even scared. The discomfort and weakness that racked my body for nearly a month were unlike anything I had experienced before. But there was something else that I had never experienced. Never before had I felt such an outpouring of empathy and support from friends, family, and colleagues. And I'm sure many of you would have similar experiences during this pandemic, when you have marveled at the kindness of not just your near and dear ones, but even rank strangers. Let's look at whether this solidarity has moved global or not. Yes, the pandemic has wreaked havoc on our lives, our minds, and bodies. The economic impact has cut deeper than any recession since the Great Depression of the 1930s. But also consider this. When was the last time you saw the world unite to fight an unfamiliar, unfathomable threat like the coronavirus? It takes a village, right? And sure enough, leaders, health experts, policymakers, civil societies across the world have joined forces to push back against this crisis. This global solidarity has got us leaning into hope. Even though the fight is far from over, as the global caseload reaches 65 million, let us not forget that there have been nearly 45 million recoveries so far. Hope. And let us not forget the thread of humanity that has tied us closer to take on this challenge as a unified community of warriors. Look at how shared knowledge is helping the development of vaccines and medicines. Look at the millions of common people coming forward to support existing health infrastructure. Recently, when the UK government launched an appeal for 250,000 people to help its National Health Service cope with the coronavirus outbreak, they had over 750,000 people sign up. And then there are heartwarming stories every day of crowds cheering for health workers, strangers pooling in resources to tide over the lockdown, stray animals being taken care of, food being provided for the needy, and I can go on and on and on. On a more personal level, the lockdown has also changed the dynamics of interpersonal relationships. Spending more time indoors has brought families closer and strengthened bonds, and in some cases, even forged new ones. I'm not sure if you've read about the modern-day Romeo and Juliet story that played out recently in Verona in Italy. Two neighbors who are now engaged to be married fell in love during the lockdown after meeting each other from their respective balconies after listening to music. So what are the big picture gains? On a big picture scale, the COVID 19 outbreak has forced a rethink and holds out the promise of improvements on a number of issues. For one, the spotlight has been turned squarely on the need to take the threat of environmental well-being much more seriously. This pandemic has also highlighted the relation between nature and human society. There is proof that biodiversity loss poses a real threat to human health, by increasing the incidence of infectious zoonotic diseases. The need for bigger health budgets with a focus on better public health systems is also being acknowledged, as is the need to invest in local industries and businesses for more self-sufficiency. So let's talk a little bit about the opportunities for the communications industry. That's what we all want to listen to, don't we? Business and industry have undeniably been hit hard by the pandemic and subsequent lockdowns, but the road to recovery is clearing out slowly. And as the dust settles, the communication industry is emerging, I believe, much stronger than ever. Yes, there is no two ways about it. This is our time. The communications sector has always been agile and hyper-responsive. And given the current situation, we have been on the ball in reinventing ourselves, with digital acceleration serving as a key instrument of adaptability. Thus enabled, it is now for us to keep pace with this crisis, guide our clients, and build trust. This is our time to shine, to fulfill our purpose as communicators. And it's not just me feeling hopeful about this new emerging world. It is up to us to use the power of communications to move people to positive action. So the world is feeling similarly. Despite the pandemic triggered disruption in the economy, the recently published Eco World PR report saw industry leaders feeling hopeful about both growth and profitability of public relations in the year 2021. On a 10-point scale, overall optimism about the growth of the PR market touched 6.4 among surveyed PR leaders, going up as high as 7.5 in the Asia Pacific region. And believe me, that's high compared to other industries. Expectations for greater profits scored close to 5 across all regions surveyed, with positivity particularly high in North America and Eastern Europe. In fact, the PR industry has had a very good year with positive momentum across different markets. Our work for clients was strong and impactful, and we should all be incredibly proud of the results we have achieved together. Among services, the industry is expecting strategic consulting to take the lead this year, followed by corporate reputation and social media and community engagement. And consultancy heads are predicting the most growth in technology, health, and financial and professional services this year. As a matter of fact, technology was among the most buoyant industry sector even during the pandemic in terms of communication spend. Not a surprise, of course. So now let's move on to discuss opportunities that these global trends will throw up for all of us. Amidst the devastation, uncertainty, and chaos, technology has been the only winner that is helping us function in this new world. And these technologies will become even more integral to our lives. With social distancing norms in place for a foreseeable future, brands will have to aim at establishing a connection with their audience through different digital platforms. But communicating virtually is new territory for all, and it requires new approaches. A new game plan is therefore required, and therein lies the opportunities for all of us. As communication partners to brands, we will have to raise our tech game and find more innovative ways to help our clients find those intersection points between their stories and what the world needs. Being a tech optimist, I'm excited about these opportunities to tell our clients' stories in new places, in new ways, using new tactics. But at the same time, we must remember that technology can be complex and under incredible scrutiny. It must be ethically and responsibly designed and protected, and we have to choose which works best for our clients without sacrificing data privacy. Another positive outcome of digital acceleration has been remote working. Some of our best work has actually come during this lockdown. Given how volatile and fast evolving the situation is, it would be presumptuous to say that the pandemic has permanently upended the office. I foresee us embracing a more hybrid work structure in the future, but the silver lining for industry has been the expansion of our talent pool. As a matter of fact, I'm really hopeful that work from home will boost gender equality at the workplace and allow women who dropped out of the workforce due to family commitments to restart their careers. So with technology determining how we live, work, and communicate, will creativity take a back seat? That's a question I've been asked several times in the recent past. Well, not at all. Creativity is more important than ever. This is our industry's inflection point where divergent thinking and creative reshaping of PR strategies will become the hallmark of communications. Clients will need enterprising ideas to define relevance for their brands, products, and services. And we must go beyond conventional plots, use big data to listen and apply and deliver our clients' narratives and help them to have more thoughtful, authentic conversations with their customers. Another question that has come up a lot is about the media. What about the media? Who will stand by the truth? This renewed emphasis on authenticity makes me hope that from the abyss of the pandemic will rise an objective media, which has been losing its significance in recent years because of misinformation. I believe a free press is critical to building an ecosystem of reliable and more transparent information, especially now when we are fighting an infodemic of misinformation. If the credibility of the media diminishes, how will we narrate our brand stories and expect the public's trust? The PR community can play a crucial role here by getting the right message to the right people at the right time. We must keep defending the truth and, more importantly, keep defending the people who tell it. Now let's talk about something that's been spoken a lot in the conference on day one: purpose. Corporate purpose goes without saying will be the key contributor to the criticality of PR interventions from now on. According to PR firms surveyed for the World PR Report, the global score for companies prioritizing corporate purpose is 6.3 on a scale of 1 to 10, with North America and the UK scoring it even higher on an average of 7. The WE's Brands in Motion's global study has shown that 83% of respondents believe that brands can provide stability during climates of uncertainty. The expectation from brands to lead with purpose has never been stronger. The impact of the pandemic on the social psyche has made it essential for brands to impress upon their customers that they care for more than just selling their products. They care about issues close to their customers' hearts. Citing facts again from WE's Brands in Motion study, 53% of respondents want brands to address environmental problems in both local communities and globally, and 74% expect brands to take a stand on issues that matter to them. Brands that want to survive and thrive will therefore need to nail that kind of tightrope walk between financial sustainability and a compassionate, people-first approach. And brand communicators like us can help. We can help them find their purpose, stay true to their purpose, and more importantly, help them lead with purpose. Fortunately, there are quite a few brands who are already doing this, not just for customers, but also for their own workforce. And allow me to highlight some of them that really moved me. Avon Products, along with Avon Foundation for Women, released a grant of $1 million to 50 frontline services and charity organizations. The emergency grant program was launched in tandem with Avon's Isolated Not Alone campaign, responding to the surge in domestic violence cases in the wake of the coronavirus lockdown. This initiative is aimed at providing crucial support for over 250,000 at-risk women and children who are affected by rapidly rising domestic abuse rates. The grants will be shared across 37 countries, including Brazil, Mexico, India, Philippines, and the UK. Meanwhile, closer to home, RB Dettol doubled down on its purpose to pursue a cleaner and healthier world. In India, it launched Hand Wash Corona, a public health initiative in partnership with Bikers of Good to distribute Dettol soaps to the underprivileged. RB contributed 10 million bars of soap through various campaigns in India. Let's look at what people have done for their employees and staff. Brands like PepsiCo prioritize their associates and employees by focusing on monetary and mental well-being. PepsiCo India rolled out healthcare initiatives for its staff, including a 24/7 medical helpline, increased medical insurance for employees working on ground, and free counseling sessions to safeguard mental health. So not only the private sector, but how can we support the larger community and also supplement government efforts? So it's not just businesses. Strategic communications can also help governments and policymakers with empathetic and creative branding of public health campaigns to encourage behavior change. Collaborating with communication professionals to design and deliver powerful, persuasive messaging can be a real game changer for government efforts towards disease prevention and risk management. Thoughtfully branded COVID-19 campaigns can go beyond raising awareness and help people internalize safe, long-term choices for good health. Leveraging communications expertise can also help develop innovative strategies to amplify the still existing threat. In fact, it is very well documented that vulnerable populations are more receptive to messages that are culturally and socially aligned to their realities. This is especially relevant in peri-urban and rural areas in India where local channels of communications, such as vernacular newspapers, posters, and village meetings, work as effective vehicles of health information. Therefore, creating local role models of community leaders, artists, teachers, mothers can also ensure that kind of last mile connectivity to promote better health seeking behavior. This is definitely a forward thinking time where we can create whatever we want and let our imagination run wild. In fact, there is no end to opportunities for PR and our communication specialists during this remarkable time when positivity remains undefeated against all odds. The nature of our work equips us with the right mix of societal understanding and creativity that can infuse positivity into any situation. And remember, positivity is a key weapon in this people versus pandemic war. In conclusion, I recently read about a TV appearance by Scotland's First Minister and also the Irish First Minister. So, Scotland's First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, where she addressed children across the country. She reassured the kids that Santa Claus will not face COVID-19 restrictions on Christmas Eve. Why? Because he's a key essential services worker. We should be all like children, undaunted when we fall, unafraid of uncertainty, and thankful for every little smiley on our report card. So, fortified by our masks, sanitizers, and optimism, let us continue the fight, the good fight. Let us keep celebrating our little victories. As Nelson Mandela said, may your choices reflect your hope and not your fears. So, stay positive and let us spread what I call the virus of hope. Thank you for listening to me and a Merry Christmas. Thank you.